Welcome, guys. Yeah, boy, I'll tell you what, that just makes me want to leave TikTok even faster. That's ridiculous, Marty. And I feel bad because we have a lot of followers, even though we've been advertising it, who won't know how to get to us here. But I'm not going to quit talking about it. As a matter of fact, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be on the phone to every Democratic elected official I've ever helped put in office to tell them about what happened tonight because it's bullshit. That's the bottom line. They crashed our live on TikTok because they claimed we were spreading misinformation. And I was literally quoting voter suppression statistics from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the Brennan Center for Justice, NPR, the NAACP, and multiple other very highly respected organizations around the United States of America. And I will be on the phone tomorrow talking to every elected official I've ever helped get put in office to let them know what TikTok did because it's bullshit. It's bullshit that these Nazis can go in there and put up a Discord and start turning in lives that are not breaking the rules, that are not spreading disinformation, and get them shut down. And then I appealed, and the initial appeal came back that they're going to let me up February 4th. But that's okay. That's just going to push us here to YouTube even quicker. So if you guys would just really get out there and start sharing the fact that we're here on YouTube and let people know that we're here and we're going to do everything we can to try to get switched over here as soon as we can. Because listen, guys, the truth of the matter is we don't know how long TikTok's going to be around anyway. I mean, the bottom line is the legislature of the United States of America has said it's a danger. The Supreme Court has ruled that it's a danger. And we're floating on this ethereal right now where the incoming president has just said, well, we'll cut him slack for 90 days or whatever. We don't know if it's going to remain. So I think the faster we can get over here to TikTok, the better. Zeppo's out there letting everybody know in the Discord that we're over here on YouTube. The only complaint I have about YouTube is that all the give and take is in the comments section here, which, I mean, it's no problem. I can look at the comments, but it doesn't let me look at you in the camera. And the other thing is I can't bring people up into the box. So we need to figure that out as well. PJ, I don't think you can. I don't think you can bring people up. At least if you can, I don't know how you do it. And I've watched all kinds of videos on YouTube and how to do lives here to try to figure out how that works. So anyway, we'll give everybody a little bit of time to join here, and then we're going to jump right back into it because I know YouTube won't bring the live down. They just don't do that. Hey, Sleepy Mama, thanks for coming over here. Yeah, I might try Substack because I've heard that as well. I've heard that, Jennifer, that you can bring people up as well. So that may be something for us to try. I'm going to be doing a lot more of the live production. So I think that there'll be an opportunity for us to, for us to jump in there and get a lot more video production out. We'll try Substack. I may do something on Substack tomorrow, guys, just to give it a shot. I'll go on there after we finish the live tonight and check it out and see if there's anything else that I need to do. Oh, that's a good point, David. I'll talk to Felice. You bet. But we need to make the switch as soon as we can. Yeah, I like that too, Vanessa, is that it saves it on the channel here in YouTube, and you can watch it later, which I think is very appreciated. So listen, guys, if you don't mind, because we switched over to YouTube, I want to just spend a second just recovering, if you don't mind, some of the statistics that I covered when we were over on TikTok. Do you guys mind if I do that? Because people are going to come here and watch this live on YouTube, and I'd like them to be able to see those statistics when they come in here. So if you guys are up for it, I'm going to repeat some of the statistics that I spoke about while we were on TikTok before they brought the live down for misinformation. So, hey, Jill, thanks. I really appreciate it. Sorry about that. But I don't know. Sometimes, guys, I turn into that old man standing on my front porch yelling at people to get off my lawn. It just pisses me off. Like I am not going to censor myself when I'm giving out information from MIT, the Brennan Center for Justice, NPR, and all these other reputable sources. I'm not going to censor myself because TikTok doesn't like it, and because I got a bunch of hayseeds out there reporting me for misinformation. So what I'm going to do, if you guys don't mind, there might be some people that joined on YouTube that weren't with us when we were over on TikTok. I'm just going to cover some of the information that I covered while I was on TikTok. So, what we were talking about, guys, for those of you that may just be joining on YouTube, or for those of you that may watch this live later, we were talking about the fact that there was an article put out today by an investigative journalist named Greg Palast. That's Greg. Last name is Palast, and you can read his work on gregpalast.com. That's GREGPALAST.com. And he wrote an article entitled Trump Lost, Vote Suppression Won. Now, I want to make it clear right up front, just like I said during our live on TikTok, nobody's making the argument that anything crazy along the lines of the conspiracy theories that the Trump campaign put out in 2020 is what happened here. Unfortunately, everything that happened was legal. All of the voter suppression that occurred was legal. And it occurred because Republicans for over 20 years in this country have been working tirelessly to pass voter suppression laws that lean very, very unfavorably in the direction of Democrats, and particularly African American voters that vote Democrat. So we covered some of these statistics on the other side. What the study shows, if you combine all the information together from these different organizations that did these studies, I'm going to read them to you one more time just so you know who they were. There was an audit conducted by the state of Washington. There was a study done by the U.S. Civil Rights Commission. There was a study done by the Brennan Center for Justice. There was an investigation completed by National Public Radio. There was a study done by Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Most of you have heard them under the name MIT. And a study by the U.S. Elections Assistance Committee. And what they found is that if all of the votes that were suppressed legally in the United States would have been counted, Trump would have lost the states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, and Vice President Kamala Harris would have won the presidency with 286 electoral votes. Let me repeat that one more time. If all of the votes that were suppressed legally in this country that these institutions studied would have been counted, Trump would have lost the states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, and Vice President Kamala Harris would have won the presidency with 286 electoral votes. Okay? Some of the other data that we covered in here. Harris would have gained at least another 3,565,000 votes, and she would have topped Donald Trump in the popular vote by 1.2 million votes if these votes that were legally suppressed had not been suppressed. Okay? Some of the statistics that we were talking about in the other live, 4,776,706 voters, according to the U.S. Elections Assistance Commission data, were wrongly purged from the voter rolls. Okay? These were voters that were registered to vote. They legally registered to vote. They registered by the deadline, and they were in the system. Okay? They were legal voters. 4,776,706 voters, according to the U.S. Elections Assistance Commission, were purged from the voter rolls incorrectly. And we made the point earlier that we knew this, right? Because we have followers here from Texas. We have followers here from Georgia. We have followers here from North Carolina. And you guys were dealing with this incessantly before the last election with voter purges. And where were they happening? They were happening in red states, in blue cities, in Atlanta, in Houston, in Charlotte, in Greensboro, in Winston-Salem, in Raleigh. It was happening in red states and blue cities. And we now know 4.7 million voters were incorrectly purged from the system. By August of 2024, for the first time since 1946, vigilantism. You guys remember the law that was passed in Georgia that allowed fellow citizens to look at your voter registration and on a whim just say, I don't think you're valid. I don't think you're eligible to be registered to vote. They could turn you in for that. The numbers that finally came out after the election, by August of 2024, for the first time since 1946, self-proclaimed vigilante voter fraud hunters challenged the rights of 317,886 voters. And according to the NAACP of Georgia that studied this, for those of you that don't know, the National Association for the Advancement of Color People, They estimated that that exceeded 200,000 voters in just Georgia alone. Yeah, guys, if you could, similar to liking, just click the thumbs up. Okay. That's kind of the equivalent of a like. On my page, it's up at the top to the right. I don't know where it is on yours, but if you just see the thumbs up there and you click that, that's kind of the equivalent of a like. There you go. Might be a heart down at the bottom of the chat, actually. Some of the other statistics that came out of this: no less than 2,121,000 mail-in ballots were disqualified for clerical errors. And I gave an example of this on the TikTok live. They really didn't like this one because this is when they flagged us. This included things like not enough postage on the envelope. So you get your mail-in ballot, you fill it out, you sign it correctly, you put it in the envelope correctly, you do everything right, you throw your stamp on there, and when you mail it in, when it gets to the voting location, it says postage due. That's enough to get your ballot thrown out. Listen to that number one more time, okay? 2,121,000 mail-in ballots were disqualified for minor clerical errors. Listen to this. Of all the ballots that were cast in precinct, these are people going into their voting location, walking up, showing their voter ID, getting their ballot, and actually voting in their precinct. 585,000 ballots cast in precinct were disqualified. Check this out. 1,216,000 provisional ballots were rejected and not counted. Now remember, provisional ballots are legal in most states. Maybe you didn't register at your new location. Perhaps you went into the wrong precinct location to vote. There are a lot of different reasons, but you can fill out a registration or a provisional ballot in many states same day. 1,216,000 provisional ballots nationwide, sorry guys, were disqualified. Were disqualified. This is the one that makes me really sick, okay? 3.24 million, that's 3,240,000 new registrants were rejected or not entered onto the rolls in time to vote. Think about that. Who led in the voter registration race? The Democrats did. They led early on and they kept that lead through election day. Over 3.24 million registered voters, even though they turned their registration in by the deadline in their state, had their registration rejected or not entered. In the state of Washington, they found that a black voter was 400% more likely than a white voter to have their mail-in ballot rejected. Let me say that again. In the state of Washington, in the study they did, they found that a black voter was 400% more likely to have their ballot rejected than a white voter. Some of you live in the state of Florida. In the state of Florida, 1 out of every 7 ballots that black voters turned in were rejected in the state of Florida. 1 out of every 7. Incredible. It's just the dirty little secret in the United States of America. We don't count all the votes, and the Republicans have set it up so that we're legally allowed not to count all the votes. They've set it up so that they're legally allowed not to count all the votes. This is legal suppression. Okay? And it's happening every day. The Brennan Center for Justice found that since 2020, when Trump lost to Joe Biden, the Republicans didn't like that. So what did they do? 30 states enacted 78 restrictive laws to cause voter suppression in multiple states around the country. These were race-targeted laws. This is what the Brennan Center called them. Race-targeted laws. They ran the gamut from shuttering drop-in boxes in black majority neighborhoods all the way up to not placing as many voting machines in black precincts as they did in white precincts. It ran the entire gamut. Again, this isn't Will saying this. Do your own research. The bottom line is multiple prestigious organizations have done this research, and these are the results. These are the results. And I showed you during the TikTok live, but if you look at the map that shows you where these voter suppression laws were put in place, it almost directly reflects the states that Trump won in the last election. They almost look the same. In 2020, during the pandemic, more than 43% of Americans voted by mail. And this is where they're really using technicalities to suppress the vote. If you don't have enough postage on your envelope, if your ballot comes and says you have to put it in a small envelope and then insert it in a larger envelope, and you have to sign the inner envelope and you have to sign the outer envelope, if you don't do all of those things, if you miss any part of that, then they can kick your ballot back. They can kick your ballot back. So this is what's going on, guys. The mail-in ballot rejection rate in 2020 in the United States of America, and it got worse in 2024. Listen to this. The mail-in ballot rejection rate in a study done by NPR, it was almost 14%. It was 13.8%. Local elected officials around the country, mostly in red states and blue precincts, rejected nearly 14% of the ballots that were cast in the election because of technicalities. This is what TikTok didn't want you to hear. This is what TikTok didn't want you to hear. So guys, if you have questions as we go along, I just want to stress to you, this is a little bit different environment. We can't bring people up into the box. So ask your questions, down in the chat and I'll answer them. So one question, who is overseeing this? Well, the problem is the reason why this suppression is legalized in so many states is that you have Republican secretaries of state, the Republican legislatures in these red states vote these voter suppression laws into existence. And then even in the state of Georgia, where you had an elected Republican Secretary of State that kind of stood up to Trump in the 2020 election, that same elected Secretary of State stood idly by and watched these voter suppression laws go into effect because they knew it would be good for Republicans across the board. I think somebody just asked the most important question, and that is, what are our options? What do we do now? How do we fight back? Okay. The Democratic Party has been really good at voter registration, but this is going to be a daunting task, guys, because a few things have to change. Okay. Number one, we have got to start winning back state legislatures in this state. When President Obama won, it was really exciting. We had the first black president that we've ever had in the United States of America. We won the presidency. We won it 2 presidential elections in a row. But one of the really negative things that happened is that the Republicans gained multiple state legislatures across the United States of America during that 8 years Obama was in office. And they utilized those racist attacks that they made against him to do that. But they took over state legislatures, the majority of state legislatures around the country. And the bottom line is, guys, state legislatures are the ones that pass the laws inside these different states, and they pass these voter suppression laws. So one of the things that we've got to do with the nonprofit that we've put together for the Back 40, and with the PAC especially, we've got to go out there and we've got to play ball in these close races at the local level, where we're electing state house members and state senators that have a chance to win, to go to their state legislatures and override these suppression laws. That's one of the first and easiest things that we can do. And then getting on the phone and in email and raising hell. I am so proud of you guys. I'm going to say this every live. I am so proud of you guys because of what you did with the sanctuary cities for the unborn in Rolla, Missouri, and in Marshfield, Missouri. You guys made sure your voice was heard. You sent thousands of messages in email. You sent thousands of voicemails. You showed up in force at the meetings, and they voted it down. So I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. I want you to go on to every piece of social media that you have, and I want you to start complaining about voter suppression laws in this country. I want you to start posting this article. I'm going to give you this article one more time. You can find it on Substack. It's Greg Palast, Gregpalast. That's the reporter's name. in Substack and also on his website. The title of the article is Trump Lost, Voter Suppression Won. His website is gregpalast.com. Okay. I want you to post this. Yeah, we'll put it on Discord for sure, Jill. I want you to post this article on every piece of social media that you've got. And I want you to do the same thing with your statewide elected officials that you did in reference to sanctuary cities for the unborn in Rolla, Missouri. I want you to get on the phone and I want you to make a call this week telling them that voter suppression is wrong. I'll go in there tonight or tomorrow and I'll put some bullet points in Discord like I did with sanctuary cities for the unborn. And you can go in there and you can make those points to your elected officials. That's what I want you to do. I want you to start sending emails and I want you to start making those calls because your voice needs to be heard. And I'll put those bullet points in there and I'll put the studies that relate back to that bullet point. And I'm going to do that so that if they call bullshit on you and they try to tell you that that's not true, you can say, well, according to the Brennan Center for Justice and a study they did in 2024, it is true. And here's where you can go to find it. So you can do the work of these lazy bastards that are out there trying to shut down the vote in this country. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us, guys, with both the nonprofit as well as with the PAC. We've got to work to get these local officials elected. And we're going to have to be targeted in our approach. And what I mean by that is this. In the beginning, when we're first trying to raise money for the PAC and for the nonprofit, when it comes online in February with Act Blue, we're going to have to focus on those races that are close, that we have a chance of winning, where we can sway that election in favor of the Democratic candidate, or even in a Republican primary, where you've got a Republican candidate that doesn't support voter suppression. And they're out there, guys. We may be talking about supporting some Republicans in a primary that are more middle of the road, et cetera, in some parts of rural America. But the bottom line is we've got to accomplish change in this country, and it's going to be accomplished in the state houses and at the ballot box. That's where it's going to happen. We're going to complain. We're going to argue. We're going to fight the good fight. We're going to get on social media and do everything we need to do. But the bottom line is we're going to win this battle at the ballot box, win this election at the ballot box. I want to talk about something else just, very quickly in regard to voter suppression. We've got a segment, and I'm going to, if TikTok will let me, I'm going to do a video on this tomorrow. Again, I just keep going back to the fact that I did a video on this today, and it's going viral on TikTok right now. I think in the first hour, I got like 4,000 views stating everything that I said when we were live on TikTok. That video said everything that I was saying during the live, and they took the live down. But I want to make this very clear. We have got, just like we have been standing up and fighting for the women in our lives by supporting reproductive rights in this country, we've got to stand up and fight for people of color in this country, particularly for African American women. There has been no more loyal voter for the Democratic Party and fighting for all the rights that we believe in than African American women in this country. And there were a lot of women in this country that voted for Donald Trump and slapped them in the face. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I know you already know this. But we have got to stand up and fight for African American women in this country and for people of color in this country whose votes are not being counted because of this nonsense. If you guys go to the Discord and you look under breaking news, there's a section there, Greg Palast. You can go in there and look, and the article's posted there now. So if you go to the Discord, look under breaking news, there's a segment in there for Greg Palast, and the article about this voter suppression, legal voter suppression, is posted there. But we've got to stand up and fight for the people of color in this country, just like we've been standing up and fighting. Seppo's going to text me in a minute because I'm spanking my keyboard here. But I'm passionate about this. We've been fighting these fights. We've been doing a great job. We've been affecting results around Missouri, fighting this sanctuary city for the unborn. We've got to do the same thing for people of color in this country. We've got to do the same thing for African American women in this country. These are battles that have to be fought together because no group has been more loyal to us and to the Democratic Party than that group. And they've got to be frustrated. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen video after video of strong black women shedding tears on social media because of the fact that they worked so hard in this last election for all different types of people, not just themselves. They weren't selfish with their vote. They weren't selfish when they were out there putting up yard signs. They weren't selfish when they were out there going door to door. They weren't selfish when they were making calls for Kamala Harris. They were doing it for everybody, including the African American young men in their lives that were voting for Donald Trump. So we've got to be there for them. This is teamwork. I'm gonna turn your stomach with the old quote: "Teamwork makes the dream work," and we've got to fight together, guys. It's critically important. Critically important. I see some of the old gang coming in here, guys. We got bananaed on TikTok. That's the bottom line. They didn't like the fact that we were talking about voter suppression, but I'll be damned if I'm going to stop talking about it because the Chinese don't like it. I don't care. We're going to talk about it. And I appealed it. We'll see what happens. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to get on the phone and call every elected official that I helped get elected to tell them exactly what they did on that app tonight, because it's ridiculous and it's wrong. And I'm not, listen, I'm just the screaming white guy. They've done it to a lot of you female creators on TikTok time after time after time after time. And I've been doing everything I can to fight for those creators to say it's wrong and to get their word out there. But we can't ever stop. Yeah, there you go, Dina. Took the words right out of my mouth. We can't ever stop. That's the bottom line. All right, guys, let me take a little sip of my Dr. Pepper Zero here. I've been on a soapbox. I need to wet my whistle, and then we're going to move on to another topic, which is also going to make me angry. And that is Donald Trump and his lackeys trying to stop federal funding in this country. So, all right, guys, let's talk about this. I'm going to keep my eye on the comments. And let me check something real quick while we're on here. I'm just going to go into TikTok and see if they answered my appeal yet. Give me just a minute here. Let's give this a shot and see what happens. Nope, we're still suspended. Okay, I want to talk about now the president's move and the Republican Congress's move to stop the funding of federal grants in this country. And I want to speak specifically tonight, if you don't mind. I want to speak specifically tonight to how it would have impacted rural America. And if you guys don't mind, you guys know this is my jam. I love to talk about rural America, but I want you to be able to go out and talk to people about specifically how this would have impacted rural America. I think it's really, really, really critically important that we do this, because a lot of the impact this would have had on everyday Americans would have, been particularly harmful in rural America. Now, why do I say that? Because the dirty little secret that Republicans in rural America don't want to admit is that most of the poverty and most of the social safety net usage in the United States of America is in rural America. And 75% of the poverty that exists in the United States of America exists in Southern Republican states. In every part of the country, whether it's the Northeast, the Southeast, the Midwest, the West, the Southwest, in every part of the country, the poverty rate in rural America is higher than the poverty rate in urban America. And it's been that way for a while now. It's been that way for over a decade. Rural states have a higher poverty rate, or rural areas have a higher poverty rate than the urban areas. There are a lot of other trends that are happening too, guys. Okay. Like I said, they use the social safety net more. They're using more federal dollars for things like the free lunch program. Head Start is another critical program. I've talked to you guys about this in the past, and for you moms out there and some of you single dads that live in rural areas, Head Start is a great program for not only early education in this country, but a lot of parents, rightfully so, also they critically rely on it for daycare while they go to work. The unemployment rate is higher in rural America. The rate of wages in rural America is lower than it is in urban America, and the number of job opportunities in rural America is lower than it is in urban America. Not only that, okay, not only that, but during Biden's administration, he focused billions and billions of dollars through the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Act into critically needed programs in rural America. And some of the programs that would have been cut had these cuts gone into effect today without the interference of a federal judge appointed by Joe Biden, I might add, who came in and stopped these cuts. Some of the programs that would have been affected were Head Start, the Emergency Grain Storage Act for farmers. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that because if you live in rural America and you're a row crop farmer, you know what it is and you know why it's critical to the United States farmer. Listen to these two. It would have cut cancer research programs in rural America. It would have cut cancer research programs in rural America. It would have impacted hundreds of different food programs for the poor in rural America, along with thousands of educational programs in rural America that are funded by these funds. All over Southwest Missouri, we have FEMA funds that have allowed schools to build shelters for their local communities that are also used as gymnasiums and meeting places and libraries, etc., in rural schools all over America. All of these things would have been cut. And if that's not bad enough, listen to this. There's a program out there in the United States in rural America where the federal government provides funding for veterans who pass away and they don't have any family members that claim them. The federal government pays for their casket and for their burial. I hope you heard what I just said. And that program would have gone away. The program that pays for caskets for veterans that have no family. The fact that they have no family to claim them is sad enough. But just imagine a country that doesn't care enough about its veterans to buy the very casket that we lay them to rest in after they've served their country. It's absolutely absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And these are the types of programs that would be cut. And guys, I feel after I read all of the different programs that are out there, I feel 100% comfortable saying these programs that were going to be cut would have hurt rural America even more so than they would have hurt urban America. And they would have been very painful to both. This is what we're dealing with. And guys, in all of this craziness, in all of this absurdity, there is an opportunity that's raising our head. Because guess what? For the first time during Donald Trump's first administration, for the first time since he's been elected this time, for the first time, I've heard my Republican friends that voted for Donald Trump give an inch. Yeah, it's crazy if we cut these educational programs. I can't believe we would cut programs that provide caskets for our unclaimed veterans that have no family. This is providing us with an opportunity not to call MAGA people stupid, not to tell them that they vote against their best interest, but to remind them over and over again that they were lied to. Remember, when we're making this argument, we need to push the blame back onto the President of the United States and his supporters in the Congress. They were lied to. Remember, they were told the tariffs wouldn't impact farmers. Remember, they were told that Donald Trump wouldn't support the old president of Brazil and cattle wouldn't be dumped on our market. Remember, they were told, don't worry, we won't do the immigration roundups in rural areas and on farms. They're doing all of these things. They lied to everybody. They didn't just lie to Democrats. They didn't just lie to people that live in the cities. They lied to everybody. And this opens up an opportunity for us. Because, guys, a lot of you live out here amongst these rural people, and there are people that voted for Donald Trump whether we wanted to admit it or not, because I know them, they would give the shirt off their back to help the people in their rural community. And they know in their heart of hearts that these things are wrong. They know that when you take away educational opportunities for kids in rural America, they know in their heart of hearts that it's wrong. Not all of them do. There's not some unicorn magic or some fairy dust that's being sprinkled over MAGA here that's going to turn all their hearts around. But there's a core group of them, and their voices are starting to rise now, that are saying, this is not what I voted for. And you've got to be educated. It's just like if you're a Christian, we talk about being able to witness to people, and you need to know what to say when that opportunity arises. Or whether you're a Muslim person and you're witnessing to other people, you have to be educated as to what to say. Or maybe if you're a doctor and you're talking to somebody about an illness, you have to be educated as to what to say. Or maybe you're speaking to somebody in need. They can't support their family. They have a child with special needs. When you talk to them, you want to be educated about what it is you're going to say. The same rule applies here. This is why we're talking about these issues. They were lied to. And you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I got to tell you guys, it is kind of weird that all these websites went down today. Did you guys hear about this? Let me know in the comments if you heard about it. Medicare website went down today. Head Start website went down today. There were 4 or 5 different websites around the country for critical needs programs in different states and nationally that went down. Why? Those websites didn't go down unless it was pre-planned, guys. I mean, you've all worked for companies, you've worked for government institutions and organizations. You guys know. You guys know. They went down for a reason. They came back up again after the federal judge ruled that these cuts couldn't go into place. But it just makes you wonder. It's one of those things that makes you go, It makes you wonder. Why did they go down? Were they going to cut these programs? Were they going to cut off the ability of people to check on their Medicare checks? Were they going to cut the ability of the people to check on Head Start qualifications and enrollments and qualifications in their area? What were they going to do? Carolyn, I think you make a good point. Was it a show of force? Was it to let people know we hold all the power? It did happen today, guys. It's not a conspiracy theory. It happened. It happened. We've got to be ready for it. We've got to be ready to speak to it. It's going to hurt rural America, and you need to be talking about these things. Guys, in the next year in rural America, we're in danger. Just remember this figure. Write it down, put it into your phone. And if you live out there in rural America or you're talking to your rural friends, your family, write this down. In rural America, we're in danger in the next 12 months of losing 700 hospitals and healthcare facilities across this country. 700. 700 around the country. I told you guys the story when I was a kid, when I was 12 years old. I got my arm caught in a piece of farm machinery, and it almost ripped my arm off. And I laid out there on that family farm for an hour and a half, waiting for an ambulance to show up. And then it took 45 more minutes for them to get me from that farm to the hospital. And since that time in 1980, when I was injured, there's been a focus in this country to open up new healthcare facilities, hospitals, clinics, etc., across rural America. And you've seen these hospitals popping up in cities. Like, give you an example. This happened to me in a really small town called Brighton, Missouri, where our farm was. And had the system that's in place today been in place at that time, it would have been 7 miles for me to get to a hospital instead of 35 miles. This is the critical difference. There's the golden hour. It's a critical difference. And the next year, we could lose 700 healthcare facilities in this country, all because of cuts. This is why it's critical that we make these arguments. This is why it's critical that we make these arguments. Okay, guys, I wanted to open it up to you. We're going to do things a little bit differently here since we can't bring people up into the box. Why don't you guys, let's take a minute here. I want to give you guys some time to ask some questions before we end the live here on YouTube. And then I'll fight with TikTok for the rest of the night to see if we can get up there. But listen, if they hold this ban, guys, and we're not able to come back on until February 4th, this is where we're going to do everything. Okay. I'm going to do a video as soon as I hang up. As soon as we end this live tonight, I'm going to go on to TikTok and do a video about them bringing my account down. Maybe we'll find some other accounts that we can go live on. My backup account for Highlander Political Strategies, if you guys could go follow that. Let me show you. I'm going to pull it up here so you can take a look at it. Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up here and show it to you guys so that you can see which account it is. This one right here, guys. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it really well. It's Highlander Political. It's at Highlander Political, HIGHLANDER Political. And that's my backup account. So if you guys get a chance and you can go over and follow that one on TikTok, I'll try to get that into a couple of lives tomorrow or tonight so that we're able to do some lives on there if we need to. Hopefully TikTok will reverse their ban. All right, let's look at some of these questions. If they cut Medicare, Medicaid, and these other programs, then I'm afraid the situation is going to get hot. Yeah, Dina, I am too. I mean, people rely on those programs. Like, you know, it's already bad enough. If you're taking advantage of Medicaid for an elderly parent, my mother has Alzheimer's, and we're working through that process with her. You already have to basically bankrupt your family member before you can take the advantage of the programs that Medicaid offers. And in the long run, because of the way we do healthcare in this country, it's just almost impossible to navigate your way through the system without help from attorneys, et cetera. So it's ridiculous. I do think that if they abolish any of these programs, you're going to see, political rebellion, at least in the beginning. But I got to tell you, there are a lot of people that make the argument that this is what needs to happen. I feel that way sometimes, but I've told you guys in the end, I can't come down on that side of the fence because too many innocent people have to suffer. You know, when we talk about 70% of farmers voting for Trump, that means 30% didn't. And do they have to go out of business because of his policies as well? That's just how my mind works. I can't help it. We already lost a ton of hospitals and OBGYN in the heartland due to the AB bans. A lot of women have been begging for help for 2 years. I'll be decent to the people waking up, but my empathy is gone. I get it, Julie. I do. And the only thing that I'm asking for us to do, as hard as it is just have a little bit of grace as people wake up to the reality of what they voted for and what's happening. Now, you're going to have those MAGA people, guys, that double down on everything they believe. And I'm not asking you to cut them any slack or offer them any grace. I'm just saying that there are going to be poor white people in this country whose services are going to be cut as these things happen. There are going to be row crop farmers that are going to start to lose their farms to bankruptcy, et cetera. And all I'm saying is when they throw their hands up and when they come to us and they say, I was lied to, I was wrong, we need to have the grace to accept them back into the fold and to help them as well. I think you can pull up people on Substack. Yeah, I'm going to try that, Laura. I'm going to give that a shot. I'm going to play around with Substack tonight, and I'm going to see if I can do that. And if I can, I'll make sure I get a video out on TikTok letting people know that. Yeah, I do think, Sheila, there's some software out there that will allow you to pull people up on YouTube. Obviously, Zeppo and I will be frantically looking into that tonight. So that we can give that a shot as well. So I think that's I think it is possible. I think you just have to use an outside software to make it happen. I guess I can take off my earbuds because I can't bring anybody up into the box. So I'll take off my earbuds. But yeah, we'll try that out. We'll give it a shot. I'll look at Substack tonight. I'm actually writing my first article for Substack to talk about these voter suppression issues. So as I'm doing that, I'll check on the other things as well. Listen, guys, any more questions tonight? I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate you. I know we got a curveball tonight. If we remain banned on TikTok, we're going to keep coming here for the lives, just so you guys know. So anything you can do to help get the word out, it's much appreciated. In the meantime, I'll try to get that backup account at Highlander up and running. It may prevent me, though, from going live on anybody's account as well, because it says I'm banned not only from doing lives, but from participating in lives until February 4th, which, by the way, is my birthday. February 4th is my birthday. Yeah, the next live is Thursday. Thank you, Jill. The next live is Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if we're not able to get onto TikTok, we'll do it right here. So, Steph, the stay by the judge, I believe, is good through February 2nd. It's like February 2nd, February 6th, something like that. We're going to continue to fight, guys. Don't worry about it. TikTok isn't going to get us down. I promise you that. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Lefty. It's happening right and left. I knew it was going to happen to me eventually, guys. There's no way you can get out there and preach the message that we're preaching, especially to rural America, and try to change minds without being banned. Because I already know for a fact, based on what Jason has said before, that they've set up a Discord specifically for us. And when we come on, they pour into that Discord, come into our lives, and start mass reporting us. That's already happening. So, I can sit around and I can whine and cry about it, or I can continue to fight. And I know you guys are fighters too. I know you're fighters too. We'll be back there again. And if not, we'll grow on here. We'll grow on other places. Everybody remember, if you get lost, or if you could share on your TikTok page, whatever it might be, the email for the Back 40 is the Back 40 family at gmail.com. So if you want to send an email, it's the Back 40 family at gmail.com. And I know Zeppo's working on getting a website up for us so that we at least have a landing page that people can go to see where we are on all the different social media sites. That's right, Jill. Don't be overwhelmed. Be organized. More to come, guys. I really appreciate. Hey, Nikki, I appreciate everything you guys are doing. I mean, honestly, I say it all the time. I came on here just to talk about how politics works behind the scenes. And as of yesterday, you grew this thing into an 80,000 follower account on TikTok. We're closing in on 100,000 followers. And that puts us right up there with some of the biggest creators in our little circle of friends, like TikTok Steve, Facts Matter, those types of people. And it's all thanks to you guys. It's all thanks to you guys. So we're going to stay organized. We're going to continue to fight. I'll go duke it out with TikTok, and we'll go from there. Okay, guys? Really appreciate it. Listen, everybody, have a great night. Thank you for following me over here to YouTube. And do me a favor and make sure that you share with everyone that we're here on YouTube for right now. And come see us again, 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on TikTok, guys, okay? Thanks, everybody, and have a great night. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a great night. We'll see you.